Yeah, can the boy across the street who has never spoken to you before apply for a service animal for you and then die 10 seconds later?
He has to die though, otherwise you don't get it.
I mean, he can try, I guess. I don't know.
You can give it a go.
Grab some popcorn and stick around. We've got some garbage to talk about.
Hi, Rogue.
Hey, Zax.
Hi, Karina.
Hi, Zax.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Zax. What are we doing today?
Well, we're talking about Sia's dumpster fire of a movie. Music.
Who's excited?
Okay, so, like, I've now sat through this thing 3 different times because I'm the lucky lady who actually gave money to a bad cause.
Yay. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm paying for it, I guess.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah. So, because one thing that is funny about that is that, like, while I was watching with Bob for my 3rd time, I was like, well, I did leave a dislike, and he's like, your dislike and views don't matter, you already gave them money. It's like, oh, well.
It's the thought that counts.
And dislikes don't really matter anyway, so...
Yeah, it's all engagement. Okay, well, I guess let's start, because, Aaron made, like, a lot of good observations about, different things just outside of the film before we even get to the movie. So we should just do, like, a rundown of those things before we get into the movie.
Sure. Okay. So, here's a list of the observations I made. First of all, Sia agrees with the comparison of autistic people being inanimate, like a wig, and that she did a great job of making them seem like actual people.
Wow.
Any commentary on that?
Thanks.
Okay, there's, like, several scenes where the focus is on anybody else, and music is just in the background.
Literally
like,
just a set piece. They could have had a lamp where she was.
Yeah. Like, I think Bob even said, like, oh, this movie could have starred that piano that people play sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really, once you, because the movie starts being about her, but once you notice, like, wait, where'd she go?
Do you know what we should have done?
It's...
We really should have timed, like, the amount of screen time and involvement in the scene that music had, because despite her being the title character, the movie is not actually about her.
So it should be called Kazoo.
Yeah. Second note, Sia claims that she had written the movie with a neurodivergent actor in mind, but that they were incapable of playing the role, so she cast Maddie instead of another neurodivergent actor who would have been happily able to play the role. But later goes on to say that she wouldn't make art at all if it didn't include Maddie, and that she'd apparently had Maddie in mind while writing the film, and not a neurodivergent actor at all.
And I want to be clear that when she said that the actress that she initially cast that was neurodivergent couldn't perform the role, she wasn't like couldn't do it because she was bad. She was saying she couldn't do it because she was overwhelmed on set. Like, she was a neurodivergent. This was her story. I'll preface it by saying that. She was a neurodivergent actress, but when she was on set, she was overwhelmed by, like, the cameras and the lights, which is fine. That happens. That happens to neurotypical people. And so instead of pushing her to perform, she was just like, well, you don't have to do it if you're not comfortable. And this alleged actress said she wasn't comfortable. So then she sought Maddie Ziegler, I guess.
Like, but yeah, because like that's one of our later points that we're talking about more about just like why this neurodivergent actor couldn't perform. But like, I don't know, like, so we talked about it and I've heard like other people mention it. Like, I I think it's such a bad, like, whether it's true or not, I think it's such a bad look that nobody believes there was ever a neurodivergent actress.
Yeah.
I'll get to that more in a second, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
But third point, a neurodivergent actor on Twitter had said that they and many other neurodivergent actors would have happily played the role. And Sia, frustrated, tells them that they are just a bad actor, or probably just a bad actor.
And that's why they didn't get casted.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's... Like, I mean, if we can go back and forth on, like, representation in general, but I feel like and I get it if, like, business people do whatever they have to do, whatever. I just think my thing is I hate the idea that there are people who really want to pursue the arts in whatever way, and then there's actually an opportunity for something where they would be the preferred pick, and then they're not even welcome to do that.
Yeah, see...
That's just... like, that's just unfortunate.
Personally, for me, I'm a big believer in that, like, an actor should be able to play anybody, right? Regardless if they're neurodivergent or neurotypical, or if they are, like, gay, straight, trans, cis, whatever. Like, you should be able to play any kind of character. You know, short of using blackface or whatever. But...
I agree.
That isn't my gripe here. The reason that I noted these down is because Sia just straight up lies about it. Like, she's like, oh yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
I tried, but they were too hard to work with when it was all
Right.
her fault.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get to that in a second. It's point 5 up to point 4. Point 4 is Autism Speaks. The infamous organization Autism Speaks was involved. Sia had claimed to have done 3 years of research on the autistic community beforehand, and was shocked that Autism Speaks was controversial, and claimed she didn't know, despite having been told several months prior to her saying that she didn't know on Twitter that they were that controversial.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't, like, really know a lot about Autism Speaks, but what I do know is enough for me to be like, man.
Yikes.
So the two things I know, that awful commercial where they're like, autism lives in your home and it's gonna destroy your life.
Like, it's
And then-
I don't know what
Which
the
is-
commercial is for, but it's like your carbon monoxide detectors. That's the same vibe that...
Yeah, it's
that
very
Autism
fear
Speaks.
mongering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's
they
just...
look like they're like an
I don't even
anti-drug
know-
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what you... Like, if you see that, and you're, like, the parent... I don't even know what you do with that information. It's so, like, not helpful. The second thing I know is that apparently one of the people who worked with Autism Speaks literally left to start a different charity to actually help people
And
with
that
autism.
person
I'd
who
love to
left,
see that.
that person who left said that one of the reasons that she left is because the, like, people in charge of Autism Speaks were straight up just ignoring the science of autism, like, behind autism. And
Yeah.
instead we're like there are literally people in leadership positions in Autism Speaks, an autistic charity, like, supposedly to help people with autism and the families who are anti-vaxxers.
Right.
So
That's a great combination.
Yeah. Love it.
So in short, the way that I describe Autism Speaks is it's PETA for people.
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And point number 5, being a movie about autism, but not taking into account the fact that autistic people might want to watch the movie, has very hyper-stimulating effects, like super bright colors, strobing lights. At several points, it was physically painful for me to watch this movie because of the strobing lights. I do not
Extremely
have...
cuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a high-functioning autistic. I do not have epileptic seizures. My family has no history of epilepsy, etc., etc. And this still was painful to watch because of the strobing lights.
Yeah, I don't know, like, if that's ever, because I don't mind flashing lights. Sometimes, like, they do have, like, artistic use from time to time, but it was, like, the whole movie, and it did, like, hurt my eyes.
Yeah, you watched it.
I mean, that's not
Like,
even...
I got a headache, like, pretty much. I had, like, not like a big headache, but, like, I had, like, a mild headache after each viewing of the movie.
Right.
So, like, it's a lot. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's a really, really big one for me, because it's a movie about an autistic person. Well, supposedly it's supposed to be about an autistic person.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
And it's supposed to be this, like, beautiful message of, like, I don't know what they're trying to message here.
We don't even know what the message is, and I think
Yeah,
that
I have
itself
no
is
idea
the
what the
problem.
message is.
Yeah, it's so disjointed.
But, you know, she went into this with the whole mindset of, like, oh, we're gonna make a movie that humanizes autism or whatever, which is weird, but yeah.
And then cut to a scene of music laying under a bench eating gum off the bottom of a bench. That's really humanizing, Sia. You're such a martyr for the community.
Yeah, that's one thing, like, just a quick thing, like, on representation, which, like, I feel like we've probably talked about in some other episode before, but, like, I feel like representation is so important for everybody to have at least one person, because, like, the Brandy Cinderella movie is still my favorite movie ever. Just because she was a black princess.
Yeah.
And, like, there were other things that are good about it, too, and it's, like, the rewatchability is great, but, like, I don't think, like, I'll ever forget the first time, like, I saw Brandy on the big screen. So, like, if you are young and you hear about this movie, you're like, oh, yay. It's like, oh, and...
Especially if you're young, if you're, like, young and don't really understand what it means to have, like, neurodivergence or, like, anything really, like, if any other kind of disability, mental or physical or whatever, like, you know that you have this, but you don't know what it means exactly, and then you don't see anything about it in the media, and you, like, obviously can't speak personally because I'm not neurodivergent, and I'm able, so I don't want to sound like ableist or anything, but I can imagine that if you don't see any representation and you're really young, you could feel very alienated from society just because you don't see anyone like you in media.
Yeah.
Well, the representations that do like, and we're going to get to this in a minute, but the representations that do exist in media fall into a very particular set of tropes that are not representative of most people, and autism is one of those things where no character you make will ever be perfectly representative of everybody with autism.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so... Oh, right. Yeah, so there's a lot of autistic people who are prone to seizures. The movie is about an autistic person, so it's going to draw a lot of autistic people in the audience, and it's full of strobing lights. So yeah, that's a big one.
I don't even remember if there was a warning when we watched. Most, like,
I don't think there was, yeah.
Incredibles 2 had a warning, like, all over the thing. Like, I think when we went to see it, they even have a thing, like, dirt, like, they put into the movie so you know, like, when it's coming.
But they even had to add theirs, the Incredible, because when I first saw it in the theaters, there was no warning. So they added it in theirs. But Sia said she was going to add a warning in hers, never did.
Sia also said that she was going to remove the thank you to Autism Speaks in the credits, and in the version that we watched, at least, the thank you was still there.
Yeah.
Hey,
And,
we'll
like,
talk more about
that was
stuff
both
like that
times.
later.
Yeah, when
for
I
sure.
watched with Aaron too, it was there. I didn't watch this last time, but it hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
let's talk about this whole tan face fiasco.
Because one controversy isn't enough.
So, we were talking about this before we even started recording. So, music is a biracial neurodivergent girl.
We
But
think.
hold on.
However,
We think.
well, because in interviews he has said that the character was biracial and neurodivergent.
But it never
her-
gets explicit. It never explicitly says in the movie, nor
Like,
does it have
there's
any
no-
relevance to the plot.
Yeah.
Like,
N-
Grandma's white, Kate Hudson's white, music's
There's-
white, but...
There's a very, very, very small relevance, and there's a very, very small mention of it, potentially. And it's that Kazoo, at one point in the movie, says that she picked up English just fine after saying that she wants to move to Paradise.
Paradise.
And that is the only relevance it has to the entire
Which
plot.
and
Is,
we're like Zax and I still aren't even entirely sure that that's even what she meant. Is that she wasn't.
Yeah, I definitely thought she just meant, like... Because he's asking her the question in a way, like, so you, like... Do you speak a different language? And she's like, well, I learned this one just fine. Which is, like, the same way, like, babies pick up whatever language they're raised around. It sounded like she was just being, like sassy.
Yeah.
potentially.
Because, like, even later in that scene, he tells her that she's being, like, he's like, oh, look, there's a lantern, you cheeky girl, or whatever he says. So, like, I think that's just, like, her humor, is that she always just is annoying about stuff like that. I don't know.
It's her one personality trait.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it was supposed to hint at them being biracial, and that's part of the...
Well, but
way
they're
that
only
she's-
half sisters, so that still doesn't really
That's what I was
clarify for
saying.
music.
Yeah.
If we could
You know,
just
like,
see
it's,
their
it's very...
parents.
It's very convoluted, and there's no, like, real explanation or any, like... any follow through with it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. We were talking about how, like, you can't really like any, like, we were talking, like, any actor can play. So, like, a neurotypical person can, like, play a neurodivergent character, you know, with care and tact and all that. That's fine. But you can't really play biracial. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of just, like, are
You
or
either
aren't.
are or you aren't. And if you are playing
Yeah.
someone who is biracial and you are not biracial, I got some bad news for you. That's racist.
And, like, I want to
think
be
if your
clear.
character... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
I think if your character's passing for whatever racial group you belong to and obviously present as or are perceived as, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like, yeah, because I think it's one, like, there's some, like, yeah, I guess it's the addition, like, the necessity of the tan face that I think makes it weird. Like, because there's some, like, there are lots of actors who have, like, played characters of different races that, like, nobody's had a problem with because, like,
yeah,
it doesn't, like, they didn't have to, like, put on prosthetics or something,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's just acting, and that's fine, you know, especially because, like, some places, it's like, you came from this country when, like, the real-life actor came from this country.
Right.
Kind of, like, and that's, so I'm not being, like, you need to only be like that. I'm not. But, like, she's just white.
Yeah.
So, that's all I'm saying. But the other thing I want to say before we get into the movie is that, like, I really, like, only have love for Maddie Ziegler. Maybe even more after this, because, like, she's
Deserve
been-
better.
like, I don't really fault any of the actors in this movie because, like, they're just working,
Right.
you know. They didn't, like, write it. I don't even know. The only person who I think had a little bit of say was maybe Ben Schwartz, because it sounded like he, like, got to improvise some lines, and he's, like, an improv comedian. So, like, that's that. But that's not
Right.
really, like, but he didn't really have a say in, like, the plot. So, love for them. That's all great. I just want to give you guys just a quick summary of like the whole movie.
It'll be really quick because nothing happens.
Yeah.
It's really boring.
So, Kazoo, played by Kate Hudson, is on probation / a recovering addict / drug dealer. When her grandma dies, she gets custody of her autistic sister. Oh no. But with the help of Hector Elizondo from Princess Diaries, Ben Schwartz as a ridiculously patient drug supplier who is just hemorrhaging money, I think,
Who
and a
also
magical
has
black
cornrows.
man... and a magical black man, Leslie Odom Jr., Kazoo learns to be happy with the life she was given. Also, her sister's name is Music.
That's it. You got it.
That's it. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe because we all need friends.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright. Problems within the movie. So, over-exaggeration of autistic traits. Music, the character Music isn't extremely inaccurate, technically. Most of the tics that she displays and most of the behaviors and everything that she displays are actual, like, autistic traits. However, her character is essentially just the most extreme cases of the entire list of symptoms for autism combined in a single person. Generally, autistically coded characters who are intentionally coded autistic, I should say, are pretty bad representatively because they fall into specific tropes. Whereas characters who are not specifically coded as autistic, but happen to share some of those traits, tend to be a lot more beloved by the autistic community. Characters like Data or
Yes.
Spock from Star Trek, because of their struggles with emotion and expression. Understanding themselves and others as well. Autism is an extremely broad diagnosis. It goes all the way from people who are actually somewhat similar to Music to people who are like me. There's a very, very broad spectrum, and everybody's experience with it is vastly different, even people who are similarly positioned on the spectrum. So having Music as like a spiritual representation of all autistic people is just impossible, and the movie
Right.
absolutely fails at doing that because it is just not something that you can do accurately. If you want to represent the entire autistic community in a piece of medium, you need multiple characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's depicted as a burden and is used as a prop for by other characters. She's basically used as a prop for other characters to grow off of.
Which is
Right.
insane because they don't even do that.
Yeah, like Kazoo starts off basic, like she's just going through some stuff, has to figure it out, and then by the end, she's
still
figured it
annoying.
out, sort of. But like
We don't
Mus-
get
like-
any. We don't even get any character growth by like seeing her interact with Music and them being like sisters and like, you know, doing whatever as sisters. We get one like 20-second montage of them laughing together, and that was pretty much it. And I was like, this is what we're getting for seeing them bonding. We don't even get
Like-
dialogue.
Yeah, that was one thing too that was frustrating to me. So like several times, like basically just when Kazoo feels like it, she'll try to like reminisce and like manufacture these moments with Music about like, oh, do you remember this and that? Meanwhile, Music is trying to watch her own show or do things, and then Kazoo just sort of looks exasperated like, ugh, you don't get it. And then it's like, well, why don't, like, earlier she was like cutting out pictures of dogs or whatever at the table, and you were searching the whole house for some money. So maybe then you could have talked to her about this.
Yeah, so she's
No?
she's like, because I think it would have been a better movie if Music was actually a character that helped Kazoo grow instead of as Erin put it, a prop that helped her grow.
Right.
Because she might as well have been, like, a dress that, like...
Yeah. I think it's like
pair
the
of
equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sisterhood of the
Because she's kind of like
Traveling
this.
Pants.
Yeah, I feel like she's basically like a sliding scale of like where she's at with music is where her character is at. Like that's how you know they're getting along. Oh no, she can't. She's overwhelmed. She keeps trying to put her away. But she needs to grow some more. I don't know. Maybe I just really didn't like all those people pound jokes in the movie. They made me uncomfortable.
Jokes?
Well, okay, so like only one is officially a joke. So first she makes a call to some facility
and
it's
a mental health hotline that she calls.
Yeah, and like at least maybe not for Kazoo it's a joke, but for us it's supposed to be funny, I think. Otherwise it makes less sense. But once she calls this facility and she's like, y'all do pickup? And she's like a laundry service? No. And like, by the way, if someone's asking you to pick up for a child, I think you need to do some investigating. Like, how's this kid doing?
Yeah.
Are they okay?
Like
Maybe
someone calls a mental health crisis line. Do you do pickups? Can you tell me what the emergency is? Should be your response, not, we're not a laundry service. Like, shut up.
And then,
Yeah.
and then Kate Hudson is like, well, what if I wasn't here? And then she's like, but y'all are here. And I was like, you're like...
This is
Oh
30
my
seconds that could have been cut from the movie and nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
And then the following night, well, okay, before I guess we get to that, she meets Ebo and like the first big deal happens, but she makes a joke, because she's like, hey, you want to go grab some lunch? I forgot my wallet, so it'll have to be on you, but I'll get you next time. And he says, oh, I'd like to, but I have to go to work, but I can come by later and help you with music some more. And she says, oh, I was going to drop her off at the People Pound, but I'll hang on to her a little longer. Which is like, and the joke is, I was going to ditch her, but if it gets me more time with you, handsome.
Yeah,
like,
that's literally... They literally wrote into the dialogue, I'm using her for my own benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Which
real.
was the
At the back. Yeah, and
The
like...
entire plot of the movie. So,
The
okay,
way
I
yeah.
want to bring up real quick. So there was this movie, I don't know if you remember it. It was a DCOM. It's called True Confessions.
Yes.
And it's essentially, I mean, it's similar to this movie in that it's siblings. One of them is developmentally delayed, played by Shia LaBeouf. It was 2002. It was before he was problematic. And this did I wish I could have watched it before we did this video. Maybe we'll do another video.
It's so funny. I was thinking about watching it too because
I think we should do a comparison. Because I haven't seen it in a really long time, but if I remember correctly, they did it right. It is based on a book. They did it right. The character growth was both of the characters, the person who's developmentally delayed and his sister, who has like her own struggles with that. They both grow together though, instead of just like this person being used as a plot device so that one person can, I don't know. I just think...
No, I think it was like and I don't remember, so maybe like we'll watch it and be like, oh,
yeah,
never mind. But still, we'll put that in the works. We'll do a comparison once we get a hold of True Confessions.
Okay.
So she's depicted as a burden and is used as a prop, which is what we just talked about. And is not displayed as an actual person, which comes through especially true in some of the music scenes where her stimming essentially goes away almost entirely, and she effectively becomes a completely neurotypical, in quotes, normal girl. Which insinuates that the ideal version of music is one who isn't autistic.
And that's,
Yeah.
by the way, this is supposed to be like I was going to say her inner whatever thought process or whatever, but I guess it's just everybody's because they all have their own scenes.
Yeah.
Which means that she views herself as wanting that's her ideal self too, which is horrible.
That's so sad.
Yeah. And, like, the other thing, too, is, like, because I've watched this movie 3 times, I've been paying more and more attention to the lyrics, and the opening song is just saying, "Oh, body, don't fail me now," over and over again while she's dancing and stepping. And, like...
Yeah, that
like, I don't have any commentary other than that's what Sia wrote.
Yeah, that scene in specific, the Oh Body music video, is the only music video that I can remember off the top of my head in this movie that doesn't have her stop stimming. And it is right at the beginning of the movie. Suggesting that she's, like, I guess in her head overcoming it or something, I don't know.
Like, yeah, it sounds like it's, like, and this is probably too much credit, but, like, it sounds like the gist of the song is, like, "Oh, body, don't fail me now." Like, there's lots of things I want to do, but my body just won't let me do those things, which, again...
Yikes.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say other than, like, why did you do this?
It's also insinuated that, like, aside from... music being, like, unable to interact with the world in a typical fashion because of the overstimulation and everything, she's basically just completely normal in her head, which isn't how it works. Like, a thing that a lot of autistic people say is that they are wired differently. Like, they just think differently to neurotypical people, and they see the world in a way that's different to neurotypical people. Not better or worse necessarily, just different. And I think this rings true for me in a couple of cases, because a lot of the time I'll think about issues in ways that other people don't ever seem to really pick up on, and I'll just completely overlook things that neurotypical people bring up. Yeah, we all notice very, very different things, and we all think about them in very, very different ways. Music's character is not a neurotypical person trapped in an autistic person's body. They're supposed to be neurodivergent, but that's the way that they're presented, kind of. It's weird.
Yeah, with like, with the lyrics of the songs and everything, and just how everything happens. You're right. It is like they're like every person with autism has a neurotypical person trapped inside them, waiting to come out, and that's super harmful. That's more harmful than I thought going in.
It's moments like this that make me really realize the damage of having somebody who doesn't identify with or understand this person's perspective in life. Like, I think the phrase is "nothing about us without us." I can really tell that, like, somebody who doesn't have autism wrote this script and wrote this screenplay because it's so bad.
I think what's even more horrible is to think that, so she supposedly did 3 years of research with autistic community.
Where is it?
And also, she says that one of her friends has a nonverbal autistic son, sorry, to clarify. Which is awful, because I'm like, is this how you're then seeing her son?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
right,
he's trapped in this horrible situation. Like, whoa. Yikes. I wonder how that family reacted to...
I hope they cut her off, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's time for the crush.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay.
Zach, do you want to lead this one?
Sure. So, It's Kate Hudson's first full day with music. Kazoo's first day with. I'll distance Kate Hudson from this.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'll try to.
This is the
one time I need to remember the characters' names.
This is the one movie that we were actually calling them by the character names.
Yeah, it's a kind of friends first.
Yeah. Okay, so it is Kazoo's. God, that's worse to say. Okay.
Her name's Kazoo.
It's Kazoo. Okay. Kazoo. It's Zoo's first day with music. And reminder, she had just called a mental health facility to pick up music. Now, music has a routine. When her grandmother was alive, she would make her eggs and braid her hair every morning, and then she'd go on a walk. So music wakes Zoo up and says, like, I need eggs, and they sit down, and then she's like, she makes her eggs, and she's like, I'm gonna go back to bed, but music says, like, no, braid my hair.
She says,
and then,
just to be specific, she says braid your hair, which is like, so this is a nonverbal character, meaning that she has limited verbal behavior.
Right.
It seems, based on the character traits in the movie of what we see of her talking, she has what's called echolalia, which is like echoing what you hear, which a lot of nonverbal or like pre-verbal autistic children engage in, and some to an extent where it's actually like a barrier to them actually learning verbal language, but some of them it helps anyway. So yeah, so I just wanted to, like, say that she says make you eggs because that's, or she says braid your hair because that's what she hears her grandma say. She echoes it, and then Kazoo gets confused because she's like, my hair is short, I can't braid my hair, because she's an idiot.
Yeah.
And
she's stupid.
Yeah.
And that's then what causes the I don't like even calling it a meltdown because that seems kind of disrespectful. It's just
I've called it I call things like that like just having a moment.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know what to
an
call
episode or something. Like meltdown just
Yeah.
seems so disrespectful to me.
We'll say episode. We'll say episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, can I just say something
something
super quick about Grandma leaving Zoo custody to music? That's so irresponsible, and like I'm sure she didn't expect to die suddenly, but like you likely haven't seen Kazoo in years. I don't know if you know what her living situation is, but I don't think Kazoo is somebody that you should be handing over parental rights to somebody who is nonverbal autistic. I don't think that's a good idea, Grandma. I don't think you thought this through.
Kazoo is, at least at the beginning of the film, well, not really ever in the film, well suited to take care of somebody with a developmental disorder.
Or anybody at all. She's not even suited to take care of a neurotypical child.
Kazoo shows up to her AA meeting with no pants on, and she falls asleep through the whole thing. So if that's...
She wants to buy her 90 days
90
badge.
day tip,
like,
But yeah, there was one thing I wanted to say on that, and it was that when Music has her initial episode, and Ebo comes in for the first time, Kazoo is like very, very ill prepared. She has just woken up, and she's not dressed. She just has underwear and a sports bra on. And she answers the door like that, not really realizing. Ebo walks in and is trying to help calm down Music. And she walks into the back room while looking for money, I think, and then pulls at the straps of her bra, like her sports bra, and realizes, oh no, I'm not wearing anything I'm not wearing anything appropriate at all. I'm basically naked. Mm-hmm. And then for the rest of the entire movie, she wears nothing but like... She wears no clothes. She just wears a sports bra and like a skirt. For the rest
she
of
shows
the
up to the
movie.
wedding in a sports bra and a tutu,
Oh,
like Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. But back to like the crush.
So restraining, bad.
Not good.
For
Yeah.
lots of different reasons. Mainly that it kills people. And that's not exclusive to autistic children. It's, I mean, don't restrain anyone. So in this movie, I think they were trying to set up that I think what they were trying to say is that music was going to hurt herself unless they restrained her, because otherwise, why not just let this person have their episode, let them de-escalate as long as they're safe, even if it's, I mean, you're in your house, it's not even like anyone is going to be judging or anything.
Yeah, okay.
So
that makes sense.
We saw earlier, it was established earlier in the movie that she has like a stim where she like hits herself or taps herself with the heel of her hand, usually like on her legs. And she was doing it on her head, which to me didn't look like it was forceful, but I mean, you know, obviously head injuries, we don't want anyone to hurt themselves. So there's alternatives to restraining people to prevent them from hurting themselves that are less intrusive. A really common one is to use kickboards or like boogie boards that people use when they're learning how to swim, because you can just slide them like in between the body part that they're hitting. They'll just hit the kickboard. Or pillows. Obviously there's probably pillows in the house. And
mind if I...
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Mind if I interject really quickly about the stimming not looking forceful?
Yeah, of course.
I think that the intention was that it was supposed to look forceful and harmful, but due to Maddie not wanting to hurt herself actually, it's...
it was probably done like more gentle than it could have been.
Yeah, it looks more gentle as just a side effect of being a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is also possible. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if that was the intention, was that it's like, oh... And then they could have made that clear with dialogue then.
Right.
Which they didn't.
It could have been an educational moment of, like, Zoo being like, what's she doing? And then Ebbo being like, oh, like, it's a stim. Sometimes, like, she does self-harm behavior as a stim or something like that. So then it would lead into this, oh, well, what do we do? Thing. Instead it's just like, oh no, look at what she's doing, that's so bad.
Right.
Why on top of her? That'll fix it.
So this is also really harmful because autistic people in like as a community, there has been a history of neurotypical people not knowing how to react when they do have these kind of extreme episodes. And that results in things like them getting locked in rooms, like literally locked in rooms. I've heard stories of school systems like a kid has starts having an episode, they don't know what to do, they're afraid they're going to hurt other kids or the teachers, and so they will lock them in a room and just let them like do whatever, which is so unsafe for anybody.
Right, yeah, like, because, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, you know, now, like, more like, schools are, like, equipped for that sort of thing.
They're not.
Because, no, okay.
I've been in schools before where, the class we went into to do a workshop with them, was a classroom made up of, students with, like, neurodivergent students and students with autism. And there was a room where there were, like, pillows set up and, like, blankets.
Was it called, like, a de-escalation room?
I don't know if it had, like, it looked like that. And it was, like,
okay.
It wasn't just, like, here's your prayer closet, go sit in here and think about what you did. It was, like, okay, if you need some quiet time, here's, like, some sensory things. Here's pillows to make sure that you're feeling safe and you don't hurt yourself. But, yeah, like, I'm hoping that if, like, schools do have that, like, quiet closet thing, that's how they're doing it, and not just, like, sticking them in a room. But I like you said, I doubt that that's what's happening.
Cause the thing too with this, like, like, I get now that we're talking about it that it was supposed to look like she was hurting herself. Because that one thing that I was, like, kind of, like, confused about, just, like, with different, like, trainings I've, like, done, it was, like, why can't she just feel? I don't know. I kind of was just thinking, like, she should just be able to just, like, have her moment that she like work through it herself. But I get that if there's like the self-harm aspect, then she should have like a pillow or something. But I don't feel like they really communicated that at all. And like, to me, as somebody who really does not like, there's a lot that I don't understand about like autism and stuff. So I was just like, it looked like they were just like, oh no, she's making a scene, make her quit it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, this is upsetting to me. Make her stop.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like what I'm trying to say. But so that was the first crush.
Yeah, so and
Because
just
there's more than one.
sorry, and I have a lot more to say. So
Oh yeah. No, keep going.
So obviously, like, the locking people in rooms by themselves while they are escalated and could potentially hurt themselves further is bad enough as it is, but it's also super traumatic. Like, imagine if you are upset by something and you already have a difficult time communicating it, and then instead of getting help, you just get locked somewhere. That's awful. It's horrifying.
Like, it's bad enough to be told to calm down when you're upset.
Right.
Now imagine you're told to calm down, and then you're cut off from everybody, and you can't get out. Like, that sucks.
I guess one thing, bringing it back to the crush, one thing that made it, like, especially upsetting to me, at the end, like, when he's like, okay, like, it's me, like, it's just you and me or whatever, calm down. And she's just, like, whimpering, braid your hair. And I was like, yeah, that's all she wanted from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this went so far. And, like, the way she's, like, speaking, she doesn't, it sounds like, yes, she's not, like, she sounds more scared than when she was just, like, upset earlier.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, it was just, like, I don't know, it was very difficult.
And it also is really upsetting, aside from the big yikes of saying I'm crushing her with my love when people have died from being crushed, it's also like, how can you possibly answer when she says, are you hurting her, and you say no? How do you know? You're taking away her voice.
Right,
She's escalated. She already has difficulty communicating. And so that was
and now
my
you're
major
speaking
thing.
for her.
Exactly. So that was awful. Being restrained, that even if you aren't physically hurt, it's emotionally damaging. Like, it can cause trauma, PTSD.
Right.
And I don't know, there's, I guess, still some people who are speak against even what is it called, like, state approved restraining methods. I have been trained in it's called physical management, and it's like approved. It has to be approved through the state. It's a very specific training. You can only be taught by people who are certified. You have to it's a certification in itself. You have to take a written and like role play it too, to make sure you know how to do it right. It's only used for, like, if a person is escalated to the point where they're gonna harm themselves or others, but, like, it's a super last resort. And and there's so much documentation you have to have before you can even consider doing it. You have to get approval, written approval from, if it's an adult that's able to consent, you have to get written approval from them. If it's a child, you have to get written approval from the parents, and you have to take like data on how long the person is in the hold, and there's like a whole debriefing after. It's it's actually very traumatic for the people who perform the holds, because it's like,
yeah, I can imagine.
yeah. So it's
Like, it
even
seems like it's so much more trouble than it's worth. So just
even like
even
like the safe way to restrain people is very traumatic. So like doing it in an unsafe way, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, like, because
I also wanted to say that, at least in my experience as an autistic person, having somebody put their hands on me or physically interact with me against my will is extremely, extremely uncomfortable.
Right.
I have, I've been out at dinner with family, extended family, and I have had people come and try and forcibly kiss and hug me, and I have shoved them away.
Yeah.
Out of reflex. I don't even mean to do it. I just shove them violently away because I hate it that much.
yeah, no.
And people
yeah,
don't
that's-
understand.
Like, it's such a violation of boundaries and of bodily autonomy, and, like, for folks who already have, like, who could potentially have issues with, like, stimulation and, like, being touched and all of that, and then to, like, be forcibly held down and told, and, like, told to calm down. Like, how the hell do you think that's gonna work out? It's not. You're gonna just make the situation worse. I don't see how this is a de-escalation practice.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The one last question I had about the the state approved restraint thing, like, but you'd still say like like it's like a last resort. Like, most of the time, there are other ways that are more helpful.
Oh,
than,
absolutely. It's like,
yeah,
like super last resort. Like, if there's like, even because there's even methods of preventing people from harming themselves that don't, like I said, that don't require restraining them. So it's only like I've never had to do it, and I've worked at my job for 3.5 years. I have seen it done before, but it was like a really extreme case. I can't provide details, obviously, but like,
right, yeah, that's fine.
but like, I guess examples could be like, a person is trying to run into traffic. Like, you're not going to be able to stop them from running into traffic unless you physically restrain them. But as soon as they're out of that danger, then you release. It's not like extended periods of time. If you can get them into a de-escalation room where you're in the room monitoring their behavior with them, you actually have to have, there's like 2-person holds and 1-person holds, and you have to have whoever's not involved in the hold, you have to have an extra person so they can monitor the person's breathing. If their breathing looks labored at all, you immediately release the hold. If they look like they're having any sort of like symptoms of like anything, seizure, unable to breathe, just like anything, then you immediately release the hold. So
and like, that's really like good to note that in these crushes, the only thing they're monitoring is, did she stop freaking out yet?
Yeah.
Great.
Are you done?
Then we can move on. It's like, so like,
there's 2 of them in
all
the
the
movie.
dangers. Yeah, like, then I guess, do you guys want to talk about the second crush?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, first crush was at... I liked all the information you gave us. I think people needed to hear it. Okay, so first crush, it's at the apartment, sort of like a familiar surrounding. Second crush, they're on a walk through the park. and a lot of kids walk by, and music gets overstimulated by like the loud screaming and stuff, I guess. Right?
Yeah. Like the kids running by, something about them playing or whatever triggers her.
And this time, Kazoo says, okay, Ebo, do the thing. And he's like, I'm not going to do it in the, like, middle of a park, like a black man on top of a little white girl. So you have to do it. And he coaches her through this whole crush. And at first she's like, I can't do it. What was weird about it, too, though, was like, okay, the part where she can't do it, like, music still was able to move a little bit, but she wasn't hitting her head anymore, which I thought was supposedly the only thing we were trying to stop.
No, apparently we're supposed to. Apparently, they're trying to get her to completely calm down.
Cause yeah, so that was because at that point I was like, I mean, I think you're doing, like, you got enough, but then, like, but it wasn't enough until she's, like, all the way on the ground, like, fully, like, it was like a wrestling hold or something.
It's like restraining a wild animal. It's extremely, it's extremely disrespectful and degrading.
And it's upsetting to watch. That was hard to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was not both crushes were.
And I
think that it was.
I also do want to bring up, like, I understand the point the movie was trying to make, and maybe it was a valid point when he said, I'm not doing that, a black man on top, which is a valid fear to have. But you would think that if you are going to go so far as restraining a person to keep them from hurting themselves, you wouldn't care because you would just want to keep them from hurting themselves.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and they're having this back and forth of like, oh, you do it, no, you do it. Meanwhile, she's like already at the point where she's potentially injuring herself.
And like when we watched it the first time, like, I definitely understand Evel's hypervigilance, like, because we even see later in the movie him just trying to escort drunk Kazoo back to her room gets her thing. So like, so I definitely understand his hypervigilance and that thing. So I sort of just gave, especially because I was also like, I don't approve of the technique, obviously none of us here do, but in this narrative, he's not always gonna be there, so I guess she should learn to do it at some point if this is the only thing that works, quote unquote, I guess.
If we're looking at this movie universe where restraining people is safe and not harmful.
Exactly. Because, like, so, like, it's already a bad look. So I guess I get why he didn't want to do it, and also I'm like, if this is what we're doing here, she's got to do it at some point too. Yeah. But still, it's very bad. Another thing, while we're talking about the crush, Sia said she was going to take this out of the movie, but like, I have no idea how we would even do that.
Yeah, so like, she apologized for this scene 3 times, deleted her Twitter, and said that she'd remove it and never did.
Like, see, this is a bad look.
You say that you don't know how.
She also said that she. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
She also said that she would put a warning label at the start of the movie on top of removing it.
Which she
didn't do that either. Yeah.
Zach says that you don't know how she would have removed it. It would have been easy because nothing connects to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I guess now that you say that, I was just thinking because, like, reshoots, Kate Hudson has to shave her head again, and like, but now that you mention it, you could just cut it out. It's literally nothing changes. The only thing that you would have to potentially explain, but it's not like this movie cares about that, is like, oh, why are we walking with Ebo now when we meet him?
Like, you could have had that scene where she's like having a bad time, and then Ebo comes in like, what's all the yelling about? And then like take the audio of like, oh, it's fine, like everything's okay, tell me what's wrong, oh, make eggs, and then like just have that off screen while Kazoo's like, oh, I'm so confused, I don't know what to do. Like, that would have been fine. We would have skipped 5 minutes of the movie that was awful and terrible. Like, it's easy editing. We could do it in 10 minutes, I bet. Here, you know what, Zach, send me a screen recording of this scene and I will edit it. I will I will have that up at some point, but like, I'm sure it's an easy enough fix. It can't be that hard.
Yeah, you're right. At first I was like, oh, I guess, like, I was thinking, like, a warning. It's definitely a warning. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, but, like, if it's here, I was thinking, like, oh, maybe it is too hard. But no, now that we talked about it, no, just get rid of it. It's very easy, because none of this relates to each other.
Unimportant scene.
Yeah. It really isn't. Okay, so if we're... The next, I guess, do we have anything else you want to talk about as far as the crush?
I think that's probably about it for me.
Yeah. It's bad.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, too long didn't read. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Music, the character, is... Her name is shared with the movie's title. And Music is also the actual method of Music, the character, seeing the world through her autistic lens, supposedly. Despite every single other character also expressing themselves through the same strobe light, bright, colorful
Contemporary dance
music
way.
video method.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She is... Despite sharing the name of the movie, basically a side character who never actually is characterized at all. Never has any growths, needs, or an arc. And the biggest change in Music's character is that she starts bedwetting again after she's mistreated, like, not taken care of properly by Kazoo. Which I called, by the way.
Yeah.
Earlier in the movie, they open a book that the grandmother, had been keeping, and it's like 2 years without any bedwetting. And I immediately knew as soon as I heard that it would come up again at some point.
But it barely,
And,
it barely even came up. It was hardly even an issue. It showed her with soiled pants, and then that didn't go anywhere. They just went on to the next scene, her eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And then Kazoo casually mentioned it to Ebo. And that was it.
Did I just tune out for this? Because I do not remember this scene.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, no,
No, it's hard to notice. It's literally just that she wakes up and it's like make eggs, and walks over and you see the back of her pants and they're slightly stained yellow.
This, before we continue with this, I'd just like to point out one thing I think is a little weird. Okay, so we have the whole, like, Oh Body music video to open with, and then, like, Music is lying in bed. That's how she, like, that was her dream, I guess, and she woke up. Then there's, like, this whole shot of, like, her, like, getting dressed, where we just, like, see her, like, pulling on her pants and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, we just see her in her underwear. And, like, I don't really know what my, like, how to explain what my problem with that was. But I just thought it was really weird to see, like, just, like, Maddie putting on her, like, I don't know why we need to see her getting dressed.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird, but at least, like, they were full coverage, like, underwear. It wasn't, like...
Like,
Yeah.
I guess I'm glad it wasn't a thong.
We didn't have a cuties moment.
Yeah.
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 If this movie did one thing right.
You know, it's funny you mentioned cuties, because I think I was talking with Aaron about it. I feel like it is the same problem where once you take out the controversial stuff, it is a painfully boring movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like they have to be controversial because no one else will watch
Yeah.
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 But going back to the notes, and also tying into some of the other notes we had, Music is basically never portrayed as a real person at all, and is, again, just an emotional prop for the growth of other characters through the entire movie, including the emotional ending scene, which involves breaking into Ebo's family's wedding, and Kazu professing her love for him and kissing him. in a sports bra and skirt once again, with music off to the side, wandering around aimlessly, not being part of the moment at all. Aside from in like the song bit a little earlier, and kind of just making like happy little breath noises or whatever you would call those.
And it was
I'm so upset about the singing at the end, because it's like they were trying to make this really sweet, touching moment, but it didn't hit at all because you didn't give music any character or agency or arc or anything. So the fact that she was on the stage singing, we didn't even get like all like, even if they had like had a line about her being nonverbal and all she says is braid your hair and make you eggs. That's all she says. And then they had the singing. That would have been at least something. But it was nothing.
Like, especially too, like, when they have that scene where Emma's playing the piano and Kate Hudson sings the music song, which I think is, like, that's the song they're singing at the wedding later. Mm-hmm. If they could have, like, turned the camera a little bit to watch music listening or like
dancing, or like she comes over and is listening, anything.
Like,
this would have been
this
would have been a great opportunity,
like,
to
literally
show, like, music, enjoying music. Like, we see her, like, in her, like, inner world, I guess, or whatever that was supposed to represent. We could have, like, had her come into the scene and she dances, and it's like, oh, music, like, I didn't know that you liked this. Haha, I guess that's how you got your name. Like a fun OC, I guess. But, like, nothing. She's barely, she's barely in the scene. She's barely in the movie.
Honestly, it was like the Christmas Carol when Tiny Tim walks again. They were just like, oh, look, now she's
God bless
singing.
Us, everyone.
Look at it was like, and it was like also just a weird venue. Like, again, this was so rude because it's a wedding, and at the same time it's like, I guess you did steal your brother's wife, so I guess he gets to ruin your wedding.
I was gonna say, I kind of feel like they were setting it up like that, like we shouldn't feel sympathy because he stole his wife. I don't know.
That's such
it's
stupid
weird
plot point. Like, oh, my brother hooked up with my wife and now they're getting married and I'm the best man. Like, is this a Wattpad story? What the hell is this? This
and
doesn't
then, like,
happen.
the fact that they included that Ebo has HIV,
and then it goes and then it never comes up again.
It came. So, to be fair, they did kind of set it up because
with the medication thing.
Yeah, in the beginning, kind of towards the beginning, he was like talking to his doctor or whatever, and then it came back later. But that's all. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't.
And yeah, and like I don't really know how to like bring this up more tactfully, but it's just like, also it's a bad look when all these things come together, and I'm just sort of noticing them now as we're talking. Okay, so Sia's cameo, she wants, we'll get more into that later, but she wants to give illegally purchased drugs to these kids in Haiti who experienced an earthquake. Okay. Also, Ebo is from Ghana, and he had a neurodivergent brother who's dead. And also, he has HIV, and they don't, like, tell us how he got HIV, but we know he's from Ghana, and like, I don't know if it's his wife's infidelity that gave it to him, or the whole Africa, and he's like, in my village they viewed it as a curse, and I was, and like,
glad I wasn't
it's already
the only
like
one
the act,
super uncomfortable
and
with that fact.
And the act, and like the actor is putting on an accent, which I don't usually mind, but when you add the accent to the village, that's like, it was a curse and like all this stuff, it was just like, I don't like it. I can't explain all the problems with it, but if you like hear what I'm saying and you get where I'm coming from, that's where I'm at with that.
briefly going back to what you were saying before this thread, this thought thread,
Yeah.
about the HIV, the autism, and the drug dealing.
Right.
I think it was Bob in chat earlier who was saying that there was actually a lot of really, really cool potential for this movie if they had stuck to those three things as a theme and made it a movie about the issues with the American healthcare system. And they just never even went there.
It was definitely all of the things that they added to the movie, every single plot and subplot that they added to the movie was like a half idea that never got a full fleshed out anything.
Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. Because, like, okay, Ebo can't get his medication. Kazoo, I don't know, maybe she couldn't get what she really needs to get sober. And then music, they get that device eventually that helps her communicate her feelings.
Yeah.
And maybe it could have been like, oh, we can't afford it or
like,
something.
Oh, we finally
or like
got
our
this.
insurance won't
It's
get
just
it
like
to
she
her.
gets it one day.
Yeah.
Like, how accessible are those to nonverbal children?
They're pretty accessible. You can actually get them on like iPads.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get apps that are AAC devices for iPads.
Okay. Follow-up question.
Okay.
How accessible are service animals for autistic children?
I do not know.
Can your friend set you up with one?
None of the clients that I work with have service. A lot of them have animals, but they're not service animals, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how do you apply for a service animal. I feel like you can't have someone apply for you, especially someone who's not related to you.
Yeah, can the boy across the street who has never spoken to you before apply for a service animal for you and then die 10 seconds later?
He has to die though, otherwise you don't get it.
I mean, he can try, I guess. I don't know.
Give it a go.
You know what's weird though? I like, you know, Felix. I love Felix. But
Felix is
the
wonderful.
implication here when she gets the service animal is they say like, okay, you're abusing what you ordered. So he was like impersonating her, I guess. I don't know,
have
because
no
they
idea.
just say like
It's a fraud case
it's-
here.
like, but he's dead, so statutes of limitations are out.
And like, did Kazoo and Music know that the service animal was coming? Because like, as much as I yearn for the day that one of my sisters comes home with a stray pet, I don't know what I'm gonna do afterwards. We don't have the stuff for it. So like, someone like, ding dong, oh, who is that? And you go and answer the door. Hi, here's your service animal. Oh, I don't even have food for them. What?
I mean, their
Yeah,
response is
that's-
pretty friendly, so
Yeah.
I guess so.
Maybe he like, well, I don't even know how, because like he literally orders it and dies.
Also,
So like, I'm not exaggerating.
we need to talk
so
about
I don't even know.
Felix a little bit.
Yeah,
Because they did him
I-
so
Because
dirty
he was only in the movie a little bit.
and didn't have a single line.
So that's one thing. So like, I was asking before we started recording, is Felix really shy and maybe has a social anxiety, or is he supposed to also be neurodivergent explicitly?
We don't know.
We know
Because
that
I
he
feel-
is nice
Because they
and
never
likes music.
Yeah, they never talk about him in any helpful way. They give him lots of characterization from what little we do know about him, which was kind of interesting. But
I know a lot more about him than music.
yeah, exactly.
I will say, at one point he hugs somebody else of his own volition,
Yeah.
which makes me think he's probably not autistic.
Yeah.
But
I
I don't
don't know,
know.
though.
I've hugged people before. It's just not something I do very often.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some like autistic children that like hugging, you know?
Oh yeah, no. Some people really, really love it. It's different for everybody.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. I think if there was
Generally, overall, I think. Sorry.
No, you go first.
generally overall, I think most people dislike physical contact, but then there's also the subset that, can't get enough of it and are very, very affectionate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been more clear if there had been, like, some actual, like, character context with him. Because he's just kind of dropped into the movie and taken right out.
I'm going to explain Felix's arc.
Okay.
Yeah.
We see him in the boxing place first, right? The boxing
Wait,
studio.
don't we see him?
What is that place called?
We see him in the morning because he's part of the neighborhood walk. Yeah.
So we see him on the walk. We see him in the boxing gym, just hanging out, I guess. We see him shining a light into Music's room. He lives in the building across the street from her, and I guess he somehow discovered that she likes to play with the light when he shines it through her window at night. So he does that for her. Very cute. He's having a ball with it.
I don't know how he found that out, because that's still flashing light. She could potentially have gotten a seizure. Like, you don't know her deal.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's just like a flashlight. It's not like it wasn't like a strobe, but
I guess that's true.
And then we see him in the boxing gym where Ebbo works to coach the children on how to box, and he's coaching Felix, say on the inside, if he can't reach you, he can't hit you, something. And in his match, he just stands there for a minute, and then he hugs his opponent instead of boxing him, because he doesn't like boxing. He's forced into it by his dad. And Ebbo says he's a good boy. Which was very sweet.
Yeah.
And then that evening,
and then
I did, yeah.
And then he watches dance videos a lot. He wants to be a dancer. And then his dad gets into a fight with his mom. He tries to stop him by just like kind of pulling at him. His dad hits him. He falls, hits his head, and dies. And that's the end.
Does his dad hit him, or does he like just kind of like push him out of the way?
He like shoved him.
Like,
yeah.
He was in the middle of choking his wife. So like,
and also, I guess it's worth mentioning, also as part of his arc or whatever, that these were his adopted parents, and his dad didn't like him, and his mom did.
And like,
but only in secret.
Like, there's a little sprinkle of anti-Asian racism in there too, because of course Sia had to make this movie even worse.
Yeah, they have to own a dry cleaner.
Yeah, they have to speak foreign language in the subtitles.
Honestly though, like, okay, fine, like, don't tell me the language, but you could at least translate what he's saying, because that would clear up, like, our debate about whether or not he's supposed to be neurodivergent or not. Because it seems like he says some sort of slur about his son.
Yeah.
But I don't know what he said.
It should have been about
if
Felix.
it was just like, I mean, I could have been about, like, the alternative movie, just make it about them having a friend, because it's sort of like he looks at music sometimes and it's like, oh, maybe he has a crush on her, like, he clearly cares about her,
he applied
to the point
for
of ordering
a
her
service animal for her.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, literally, and the only real thing we know about music, honestly, is that she likes dogs. That's it. Yeah. So, like, when we got the dog, I was like, man, this is a dream come true. The one thing I know about her, she got that dog.
And Felix is the one that got it for her. It wasn't even her sister.
Yeah.
Not even Ebbo.
Useless sister.
Okay. Like, and yeah. Also, I don't, like, this is like, when he dies, then I guess somehow music can sense he's dead. I really don't understand how the music videos work.
Because she has autism
at this
and
point.
She has magic abilities.
Yeah, okay. I didn't get that either, because, like, especially because we didn't ever see them. We saw them interacting face to face one time. They could have had a scene where they interacted when they all went to the boxing gym with Ebbo, but instead they said, "Music, go sit over there," and then the camera just focused on Ebbo. That sounds like so ridiculous saying it out loud. But that's what happened.
I think. Okay. I think, I think that we'll have like a lot of alternative pitches on how this movie could have gone. But one pitch I just thought of, which I think would have been really cute. Okay, no grandma. Starts off with kazoo and music against the world. Let's Lilo and Stitch this, where she's just a good sister. Okay. She's been doing good the whole time, and she's like slightly like happy and nervous about music's new friendship with Felix. And the whole movie is just music's friendship with Felix.
My one request.
Oh my god, yes.
My one request is
yes,
that we have Jima in the movie, because but the most enjoyable scene for me was like her at breakfast. I thought that was like a really sweet interaction. I need more of Jima.
Yeah.
She was like the star of the show.
Yeah. The grandma was like,
sticks was so nice.
Oh yeah, she was like, "Oh, she's gonna love this." It was. I really did like the grandma a lot.
Those scenes were great.
She just dropped dead.
Those scenes were great. Mm-hmm. She talked to her like she was a person, and she interacted with her, and she interacted with her with things that she knows she likes. She was like, "Did you know that a hippo sweat is red? That's so fun."
Our other alternative.
Yeah, like I didn't get any of that. The most we got with. Go ahead.
I was going to say, our other alternative was Grandma Music Against the World, and it's a nice coming-of-age film, slice-of-life film about them going through life, and it was cute.
Yeah, because, like, in the beginning when in the morning after, Grandma, braids her hair, makes her eggs and everything, she goes on a walk, and we see different people in the neighborhood. Like, Ebba opens a door for her. This guy who runs a cart or whatever, he cuts out dogs in every magazine just for her because he knows she likes dogs. She goes to the library, and Felix is on the lookout, and he actually, I noticed, because I've watched this so many times, but he actually looks up to the window, and Grandma looks out, and he verifies to the grandma that she's made it to this car.
That's See, and that's sweet too, because it's showing that they're giving her independence and agency, which is so important for anyone, but people forget about that part when interacting with autistic people.
I think this was a fun moment when we were watching it. Me and Karina came up with the title for this movie at the same time, but we came up with "It Takes a Village." Just a cute. We just have all these nice feel good movies at our fingertips that could have been.
I think another idea we had was Kazoo does show up, but the whole movie, Grandma's trying to get rid of her.
Just get out of here.
It's a little slapsticky, but it's still sweet and wholesome. And it's Kazoo, get out of here, go away. We don't want you here.
They'll at some point have fourth wall breaks where Kazoo's actively turning the camera towards her. They're no, you're not the star of this movie.
It's a mockumentary. It's supposed to be
that, yeah.
It's some PBS production of young teenagers with autism. And it was Grandma's doing an interview on the kitchen table, oh yeah, telling her about the day, and then the door opens and Kazoo comes in. She's surprise, I'm here. They're this is not expected. Are the producers behind this? It's no, we have no idea who she is. That would be fun.
I think, and that's something too, this is, I really love the show Everything's Gonna Be Okay, because, it's one of the stars is, played by, an autistic actress, and she does such a good job in, the show, and it's just, but it's also, I think a lot of when people first think about, movies featuring, a neurodivergent character, they think of something somber and inspirational or whatever, but Everything's Gonna Be Okay. She makes jokes like everybody else, and they're just all trying to figure out their life together, and they're all just people, and I think it's nice to have fun with all sorts of I don't know, I think
that's the kind of representation that we need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's everybody is
we're all
everybody is a person.
Yeah,
not just oh no, it's so sad. We have so much to overcome all the time.
Oh, no. I have so much autism. My life's so difficult. Like, no, just show me somebody with autism going to the store, buying some ingredients, going home, baking a cake, having a nice time. And then they're like, oh, beans. I don't know what's a fun plot for a TV show.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's beans in everything.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, beans.
That's the show. The
And
show's
then-
called Oh Beans.
And then, one of, like, the last things, we actually, like, have covered all our notes, which I'm like, wow, good on us.
I got us being on track for
But
once.
the last thing I just want to talk about, and, like, we sort of talked about this before we got into the call, Sia's cameo was, like, super self-indulgent, right? Like, unnecessary. You already wrote and directed the thing. Why are you here? And, like, keeping in mind that she wrote it, she at some point wrote Kazoo coming in and being like, is that a Sia wig? Like, I need to meet Sia.
It's the same energy as, like, Jane Austen writing her stories, and she's like, oh, this character is, like, so nice and pretty and everyone loves her, and her name is Jane. Like, I
Oh
see
my
Jane
gosh,
Austen, you silly goose. What are you doing?
I hadn't even thought about that. Oh my
I
gosh.
saw a tweet about it, and it's
Jane
so funny.
Bennett.
I'll see if I can find the post, but, like, the way it's written is so funny.
But yeah, no, that's so true. Oh my gosh. Jane. You did it. You got me. Okay, so I think, yeah, we pretty much talked about everything. We've gotten all our feels out about this awful movie.
I don't know. I might have more
any-
feels, but like, there's only so
Yeah.
much we can do at a time.
Yeah.
There's no
So-
edge to the feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if you want to, like, talk with us more about this movie and rage out with us, feel free to join our Discord, because we post a bunch of our feels there all the time. Aaron, do you want to say something about your GoFundMe?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm really close to my deposit goal for my GoFundMe.
Yay.
Links down in the description if you'd like to support. Thank you so much for all of your help and consideration. Okay, I think that's it.
Everyone go donate.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, go support her.
Aaron, do you have
Yeah.
commissions as well?
Seriously.
Don't do it.
Oh,
Reverse psychology.
reverse psychology. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be really, really unhappy if you do that.
Oh, you'd be such a loser if you donated to help someone.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming and talking to me about all this. We actually, like, learned a lot. We have a long KOF educational moment in this. And thank you guys for listening. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe, because we all need friends. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.